This ain't true. Will did a 6-hour stream trying to justify Romero being a better centre back than Saliba. That can't be true.
Well, it was a call-in show, and each fan was allowed to come on and talk, so that's why it lasted 6 hours. Yeah,
you don't believe that?
100%. Romero's a better defender than Saliba. 100%, no doubt.
Let him believe what he wants to believe.
Lewis, I want to go to a neutral on this. I need to go to a neutral. Lewis, do you believe that Romero is better than Saliba?
No.
Okay. Anyone agree with Will on that?
No, but can I just say
he probably thinks Van der Ven is better than Saliba too.
No,
do you know
Van der Ven is not better than Saliba.
I don't agree with Will, but can I just say this is why we love the beautiful game, because everyone just got their own.
I agree. I love it.
Will, where do you rank Romero in terms of centre backs then? If he's above Saliba, where's Romero in terms of all the centre backs in the league?
Like overall, maybe 86th, 87th percentile. It's not that high.
That's such a
Saliba's extremely overrated.
Don't talk percentiles. Who do you put him above and who isn't better than him? Let's talk in football language, please.
Well, I mean, Diaz is better than him. Stones is better than him. Van Dijk's better than him.
Who's he better than? I'd love to know who you think he's better than. Is he better than Varane?
Yeah, right now he's better than Varane.
Thiago Silva.
Yeah.
So I understand how good
Anderson's been better than Romero.
Sorry, what God? I want to understand how good you think he is. Rio Ferdinand at his peak, is he better than him?
No.
Okay. Ledley King at his peak?
No.
Who could I think of?
Ricardo Carvalho at his peak.
Carvalho at his peak?
No.
Oh, so you don't put him in like a world-class category then? No. Fair enough. I'm just trying to understand like where you kind of rate him.
You know what,
close to world-class.
Do you know what, Will? I know there's a smaller sample size, but I don't even believe he's the best centre-back in your own team. I actually think Van der Ven's better than him. I genuinely believe Van der Ven's
Romero's really good. Romero's problem isn't his ability. Romero's problem is his brain when he does stupid stuff, because he's the kind of person that is going to cost you 5 to 6 games a year through red cards and stupidity. And when you're
2 red cards in the league in his whole time at Tottenham.
Okay, but I think he's got away with some. Like the way I see him play, that guy should get in a lot more trouble. He is going to cost you games because of suspensions. He's going to cost you games because he gets. But it's not even about being sent off. It's about being booked early for something stupid, and then it takes away from your defending later on in the game. That's the element of his. He would have been a world-class defender if he was born in the 80s and 90s and playing then, because you got away with more. He has to just. That's the bit about him that annoys me. He plays really well, and then does something stupid and rash, and then he takes himself out of the game.
I'm from that area. Believe it or not, I'm old.
Also
right?
to
So
Gabriel. Then he
hold on. Yeah. So believe it or not, I'm old. Right. So I like some of my favorite defenders throughout the history of the game are Pepe, Cellini, Ramos. Right. That's the kind of player that I like.
Right.
I don't like boring defenders that just sit there and then make a 5-yard pass here and there. Right. I like guys that have come in, bone crushing tackles, right? Energy, take the ball off a man, make a 30, 40-yard run.
Okay, so we're talking preference here. Like,
that's what better means, right?
Yeah. Well, no. Preference is not better. It's
statistically, Romero's better than Saliba too. So
statistically, in what regard?
In all regards.
No, but give me a specific example.
Aerial dual percentage.
Statistically,
interceptions, tackles, ground duels.
When you say better in terms of interceptions, what do you mean? Wins more?
Yeah, wins more, a higher percentage of interceptions.
Is that possession?
Yeah, but it isn't defending ones based on how much a team defends.
Not a percentage.
Right. There was that photo that went. But again, though, like a team that faces less. There's a chance they have a less of a percentage.
Right. So in totals, you're correct. Right. So for example, Saliba this season, Saliba's challenged for 4 tackles this season, and he's won 4 tackles. Right. So that's 100%. Right. That's his ratio. Romero's done 13 and he's won 8, right? So he has a lower percentage, but a higher total, right? So 8-4 is higher. So you could say Saliba, I'm talking about percentages. So Saliba, when it comes to tackling a dribbler, would be better than Romero because he wins 100% of the time. Yeah. Romero only wins 75.
I understand that. That makes
Romero
a lot of sense.
wins 85% of his aerial duels. Yeah. Saliba only wins 50.
Okay. So again, and that I understand that, but then you have to watch the game to understand it more. I think one thing you don't factor in with stats when it comes to defenders is concentration. So the less you attack, the harder it is sometimes, because you might not have to do anything for 15 minutes and then you got to switch on as an example. And it's why the City defenders are so good, because they're switched on for sometimes they barely do anything for 70 minutes and they have to defend. That's the best of the best. The goalkeeper's the same. If you barely have to make saves and suddenly you're called into action, that concentration, that being able to switch in. And there's not a stat for that per se. But so let's get back to some more of these super chats here. This here says, do you think you would have been where you had been, had the same amount of injuries to key players like us this season? Timber, Partey, Jesus long-term, Saka, Martinelli, and Odegaard short-term. Just in the interest of time, I will say this, that getting a team getting multiple injuries, it looks like they're going to keep getting injured, should factor into your predictions about them. So if you're a person that's predicting what's happening to Arsenal and you think the same players are going to keep getting injured all season, then your predictions should factor that in. Predictions should always factor in you're going to get injuries because injuries happen in football. Thank you, George. Don't do drugs, kids. This guy thinks Romero is better than Saliba. That's from Luke Skywalker. Andrew also says Spurs fans are clowns. Romero better than Saliba. Behave yourself.
Always do.
Divine here says Saliba has not been booked in his last 41 games for club or country. Romero will probably only be better in American football. Stop capping, Will.
So Romero wasn't a good defender, or Ramos wasn't a good defender because he has the most yellow cards of all time. Got it. Thanks.
No, you can't. It's not the same equivalence, mate.
Why?
There's so much more context with Ramos.
Why?
He's actually won something. Like with his club.
So is Romero. He won the World Cup.
Not with his club. Not with his club.
He hasn't played for a club that wins things yet, has he?
So how can he be on the same level as Ramos?
You're dissing your own club. That's funny.
He hasn't played for a club that won things yet. He hasn't. Atalanta.
Let's do some more super chats here. This says, new fan of the channel. Come on, you gooners. Really enjoyed hearing all the different takes from other fans. Well, that is what we are here for. Just wait until I manipulate the stats. Stop it, is what Jin says here. He's not manipulating stats. He's giving his interpretation of them. I love this Spurs guy, Will. Stats stroke axe. What's that meant to mean? No nonsense. I don't know what plus axe means. But yeah,
I think he left out an F.
Oh, facts, right? Yeah, that makes more sense. It's hard for a dyslexic. It makes no sense. Terry, Will, and a Sam on a stream. Straight facts.
Let's do it.
That'd be hilarious. Romero has to do more, so of course it's higher. Like what?
Totals, yes. Percentage, no. The volume actually hurts the percentage of the person who has more volume. It's easier to win 100% of less.
I could argue it both ways though, because if let's say Saliba had the chance to contest as many aerial duels, isn't it the chance his percentage could go higher? Because he might have just had. This is the one part I don't like about stats. It doesn't take into context opponents faced. So Saliba could have went up against some of the better strikers in the air for his game. And Romero could have went up against the weakest. But so they're in the same league, but they play different opponents. Not everyone plays the same way.
Over the last 365 days, not this season.
Okay, but in the last 365 days, you play different people, you play different opposition, you have different matchups. No two games are the same.
I remember calling out. There was a stat an Arsenal fan put together a few years ago.
38 teams in the league. We all play each other.
Yeah, but okay. For instance, so do you think playing City without Rodri is the same as playing City with Rodri?
No.
So the point would be, you might have a midfielder that goes up against City twice in the space of a season, where Rodri's missing for a suspension or an injury, and he has better stats in that game. That's going to help him.
Sure.
You know, sometimes you get again, I don't think the stats are wrong, and people call me a stat merchant, but you can't just look at the statistics. You have to look at the game. Yeah. And also you have to look in games. Sometimes I've seen tackles, and I've gone, that's a good tackle, and then I look at SofaScore afterwards, and it says a player did no tackles in a game. I've seen people win headers, and then I've seen like 3 or 4 of them, and then I've seen their stats show they've lost 2, and I'm thinking, when the fuck did they lose those headers? Like, sometimes the stats don't even add up. I'm not even going to lie to you. Sometimes I see things, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. But
yeah, I just want to know, what aspect of the game is he better than a Saliba? If you just break it down, forget about stats, just talk about the actual game itself. What aspect of the game is he better at? I think Saliba's better at passing than him. I think Saliba's better at, he's more calm in the defensive third when under pressure. He's more press resistant in that final third. He's a better overall player in the air. Physicality, maybe. That's the only thing I'll give Romero. But I think Saliba can get there. Overall, I think everything else is in Saliba's boat besides the physicality part.
Yes, I would disagree with you on almost everything that you just said there. And actually, I would go the opposite. So everything you said Romero's good at, I would actually say that Saliba's good at. And everything you said Saliba's good at, I would say Romero's good at, right? So, for example, you don't ever see Saliba making 40 and 50-yard runs, cutting past players, dribbling past players like Romero did this season. Saliba doesn't do that. Saliba doesn't make long passes, right? He doesn't do that. right? His passes are all short passes within the back line. Gabriel, in fact, is your player who actually pushes and breaking lines, is impress resistant, not Saliba. Saliba actually has more errors leading to goals, leading to shots and leading to goals than Romero does, right? He causes almost as many penalties as Romero does, right? So your guys' impression of him is based on, I don't know, can't even get to start as in his French national team, right? So I don't understand
why. Will, I will say that's a based on opinion. You've seen great players for national sides not be picked due to preference. That's
but we're talking about opinion, right? We're talking about opinion.
No, but I mean, when you bring in international teams into it, you can't really say that. Look, Benzema was left out.
The opinion of the coach is that he's not good enough to play for them. That's the opinion of the coach. Otherwise, he would play.
No, but you can't use that. You can use that as you're comparing him to a French defender, but because
to compare that to Romero is unfair.
Because you don't know whether or not Romero will be picked by the manager or not because he ain't French. So that as a reason for him to be better cannot be used. It can't be used. It's like saying, well, the striker, the main midfielder for San Marino is got to be better than Jude Bellingham because the San Marino coach don't pick Jude Bellingham.
Right, but San Marino isn't a top level. Argentina is the top level performing.
It doesn't matter, does it? You don't know. Do you know who the French coach would pick if Romero was French?
No, I don't, because he's not French, right?
So that element of your analysis cannot go into your comparisons between the two.
So you're saying Argentina is not as good of a footballing country as France?
Argentina doesn't have many
good. I'm not saying they're not as good at footballing. I would say, generally speaking, I don't think that. I know they won the World Cup. They did impeccably well. French and Argentinian football is amazing. But that isn't the question. You haven't said the debate isn't which country has the best depth.
You're saying it's not analogous. What you're saying is it's not analogous because, right? You don't know if Romero would be able to get in over the current starting defenders for France, right?
One of your areas that the reason that you put Romero above Saliba.
That's not my area. That's a area.
No, it's an area you use. So it's your area. You're making the analysis. You have brought it up. You have said one of the reasons I think Romero is better is because he starts for his country and Saliba doesn't. But you're not factoring in why Saliba doesn't. And the second point is, would Romero even start for France? Would he get in the squad if he was French? The answer is we don't know. And because we don't know, it can't be used as a reason to debate, in my opinion. I want to crack on with these super chats. We are running out of time today. Statman is cooking Igal, whether you believe it or not. Just stop just saying BS. Look at the stats. I'm a gooner. But the stats guy is also looking at half stats, is what Luke says. Playing style as a confounding factor of stats. This is true. If you're told not to make long balls, your long ball, it might not be as good. I don't know what I was meant to say. Something this year. Saliba has a better long percentage and more long passes made this year. Even if Romero has better stats than Saliba, they are close enough where eye test should mean something. Will said he'd pick Romero over Van Dijk. You'd pick Romero over Van Dijk. You said that.
So yesterday I was asked by Sava that if I could only choose one, who would you pick? And I said Romero. So I'm playing in a back line of one defender. And the reason why is because Romero going forward in transition and breaking lines and breaking the press is better than Van Dijk. Van Dijk is better defender than Romero. But as far as an all-around footballer, on the ball, dribbling, breaking lines, transition, right? I would sacrifice the bits of the defensive attributes which Romero suffers compared to Van Dijk for the going forward aspects, the benefits.
Yeah. Cool. We'll come back to some more of these super chats in a minute, just because of interest of time.